Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. It's looking like a huge breakout opportunity for Moses Itauma come 16th of August. He will be facing Dillian Whyte. It had been rumoured, it has been made. So Moses Itauma, the young 20-year-old, he is going to be having his first main event, big card in Saudi Arabia. This is part of Riyadh season. Also on the card, Filip Hrgović and David Adeleye, and I'll cover that in another video. I was left scratching my head just a little bit, but more on that in another video. But this is branded as part of the Esports World Cup, EWC 25 Fight Week. So big card, and I know some people, when this news had come out that potentially this fight was going to be made, that it was in the works, they were saying, well, why is Dillian Whyte going to be facing Moses Itauma? And I said at the time, it's because there's no other opportunities out there that will bring the same sort of money that he will be wanting. They would have paid handsomely for his services. This is the Saudis after all. This is a prestigious event where there's going to be a lot on the line for Moses Itauma. Remember, and this is part of what Frank Warren and the Saudis are wanting to do, Itauma is part of that next generation. He's part of that next wave. They're trying to build names, build stars to replace the likes of Joshua, Wilder, Whyte himself as well, and all those other guys, Fury, Usyk, who will be out the door or are out the door very shortly. So they've got a lot riding on the young Moses Itauma, who looks like the future of the heavyweight boxing for the next decade or so. And what better way to sort of really announce him, even more so than that Dempsey McKean performance where he starched McKean in a round. I mean, that was meant to go some rounds, and that was meant to provide him basically the opportunity to prove himself, show him his medal at the sort of top level, and he did that. But that was a top 25 to top 40 guy in McKean. Dillian Whyte, I mean, it's hard to know where he's at, but he's got a lot of credit with his name. 37 years old, Dillian Whyte is far from his best, and he has been looking for big opportunities. There had been the mention of Anthony Joshua, there had been the mention of other potential fights, maybe Lawrence Okoli, but you've got a situation where I'm sure the Saudis and Frank Warren have overpaid, because this adds to, because he's going to knock Dillian Whyte out. Make no mistake about it. This is a fight where he is going to absolutely brutalize Whyte, and I think it's not even going to be close. And I think, as someone said here, 4 rounds and Whyte is on the canvas. Might even be earlier than that. If he can take care of Dempsey McKean in a round, I think that, 3 rounds or less. I don't want to completely disrespect Whyte, but it's hard not to, in a way, because I'm not trying to, but I just don't think he's got much left. I've been saying for 2 or 3 years now, since that Tyson Fury loss for the WBC world title in 2022, Dillian Whyte is absolutely washed. He's washed to bits, and he's been hanging around looking for a big cash-out payday. And here it is. So you've got this young, hungry, dynamic fighter in Moses Itauma who can absolutely, I think, just walk rings around Dillian Whyte, or circles around Whyte with his speed and his skills. A Whyte who has looked progressively bad in recent years. You had that situation with where we are, Ebenezer Tete. That was his comeback fight, or one of them, I should say, at the end of 2024. He looked terrible. And just on that, Ebenezer Tete, who'd been washed by Daniel Dubois in a round a number of years ago, we know he's not very good, managed to take Whyte 7 rounds. Whyte was labouring at times. And you've had a situation, Fraser Clark has since beaten Ebenezer Tete, this was in April, took him around. I mean, I actually had someone who, have a look for yourself. Here it is. They said, not impressed with Itauma last fight. First fight I've seen of him, the guy is not a headliner and Whyte would still be the ace. Well, that's clearly not the case. Dillian Whyte's star has, it has diminished significantly. He's not the ace side anymore. Moses Itauma is the future. Dillian Whyte is the past. And Dillian Whyte is absolutely washed. He's there for the taking. But this person also comments, Tete did not get destroyed by Dubois. Watch the nuance of the fight. Dubois was missing his shots. It was an unjustified stoppage and Tete was mad. I think all Tete losses were premature stoppage. This is just, hang on, we're going to put a comment here. If I can get around the microphone, hashtag delusional. Hard typing around the mic. Is this Dillian's burner account? Yeah, mad, absolutely madness. So, yeah, make of it what you will. But Ebenezer Tete never was really good, and stopped last time out and around. Dillian Whyte was taken 6 months ago. Whyte has been, he's one of these guys who's basically taken a lot of punishment, and that's caught up with him. In recent years, that's been evident. He had the sort of way he fights, the punishment that he's taken in and out of the ring, also in training, sparring, all that sort of stuff, it's caught up with him. He's got a certain fighting style. It had a shelf life. That was, 2015 to about 2020 or so, there or thereabouts. And he had some good years. He's, got some good wins, but he's fallen off hard. And this is why it is perfect matchmaking, at least in terms of trying to build the reputation and name of Moses Itauma. Because I don't think this is going rounds. I don't think this is going 10 rounds or whatever, because it's just not that sort of fight, because Dillian Whyte doesn't have it in him. Dillian Whyte is going to get sparked out here. I mean, we saw in that Tete fight as well, just, didn't have a lot in the tank, pushing his punches, didn't seem to be a lot on them. He's going to, if Ebenezer Tete is having some moments of success against Whyte, this guy could body him. It's just, it's not even competitive for me at this point. And obviously Dillian Whyte's still got some fanboys, but I mean, it's delusional stuff. So he has been training. He has been in the gym. He was injured. He was meant to face, was it Joe Joyce actually? And that would have been in April, but he had a hand injury, all that sort of stuff. So he's been rehabbing from that, and there's been talk of bigger fights, and I think this will be bigger money than the Joyce fight would have been. So sometimes boxing is about timing, but in this case, it's bad timing for Dillian Whyte, because Moses Itoma's caught him at the absolute best time for Itauma, while Whyte is firmly on the downslide. Moses Itauma is going to obliterate him. It's not going to be pretty. And I know that some people will not be happy with some of these comments, but I mean, come back to the video after the fight. If it ends up being competitive in any way, shape or form, we need to reassess where Itauma's at. But he does need rounds, but this fight I don't think is, because I think Whyte at this point is shot to bits. He can't give the sort of work that Itauma needs. But in terms of the profile and the credit that he gets for beating a guy with Whyte's name, that's the value here, and this is why it's been made. This is why they've overpaid Dillian Whyte, and Moses Itauma will effectively, I think, retire him. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.